The Adventures of Dylan by Eric Thompson. Read by Richard Wilson. Dylan decides to stay a while. Florence told Zebedee that she wasn't able to go to the garden because she had to practice the piano at home. Very laudable, said Zebedee, but it just so happens there's something to be learned about music in the garden today. What can you mean? Go and see. All right, I will, and I'll practice tomorrow very hard. When Florence got to the garden, she found it was very hot. She asked Dougal if he found it hot. Sweltering. Take your coat off. Very funny. We need a fan, said Florence. I beg your pardon? We need a fan to fan ourselves with. And she looked around and noticed some very long leaves. Let's make a fan out of leaves. You do have some funny ideas, but you're very clever. And Dougal went to help. So they picked some leaves to make a fan. That's lovely. Just a few more, muttered Dougal. They seem to be stuck. Oh, dear. Just then, strangely enough, a stranger arrived. Steady, man, steady. Good heavens, said Dougal. Interested in nature, man? Whom do I have the honour of addressing? Name's Dylan, man. I'm a rabbit. You could have fooled me. I just arrived in your pleasant garden. Think I might, stay a while. My name's Dougal, and this is, Miss Florence. Glad to know you, man. Glad to know you. He's a rabbit. How interesting. We just arrived, me and my guitar. You play the guitar? Said Florence. Like a dream, said Dylan, and he went to get it. What's his name? Whispered Florence. Dylan. Dylan returned, humming. Here we are, the group complete. Would you play as a tune? Said Florence. But Dylan said that before playing he had to find inspiration and relaxation. Do you read music? Said Florence. No, I play by ear, Mom. Well, they're big enough, said Dougal to himself. Quiet, please. Dylan played some chords. That's lovely, said Florence. Play Scotland the Brave, said Dougal, and Dylan asked him to write it down as he didn't know it. You don't know Scotland the Brave? Dougal hummed it, petering out after a few notes. Don't know it? What label's it on? We've got to write one here, thought Dougal. Play something else, Dylan, said Florence. Inspiration's gone. Oh, I am sorry. And Dylan's inspiration was so far gone, he fell asleep. He's asleep, said Florence. What a funny rabbit, said Dougal, and he played a note on the guitar, which woke Dylan up. Do I hear music? No, said Dougal. But Dylan's sleep had given him inspiration, so he played and hummed, inspired. Gone, man, gone. He's gone again, said Florence, and he had. The effort was too much for him, said Dougal. So Florence and Dougal decided they'd better leave Dylan to gather his inspiration, and they left, very quietly. Goodbye, Dougal, whispered Florence. Goodbye, Florence, whispered Dougal, giggling. When Zebedee arrived, he asked Florence if she'd learned anything about music. It was most instructive, said Florence thoughtfully. A vacant pad. Florence was waiting as usual, and when Zebedee arrived, she told him she was going to see Dougal. "Dougal is lucky," said Zebedee. "Why?" "You're his friend." "Thank you," said Florence. Florence asked Dougal what he'd like to do, and Dougal thought, "You decide. We'll do what you want to do. Let's go for a walk." "Oh, ha, ha! Lovely. It'll do you good." That's what my mother used to say. And Dylan had decided he liked the garden and was looking for a place to stay. Like a vacant pad, he said to himself, and he got into Dougal's bed. But he found he had company. "Please," said Brian. "Do you mind?" said Dylan. "Who are you?" "Name's Dylan. Is this your place?" No." And Dylan explained that he was looking for a place to live. "Well, this bed belongs to my old mate Dougal." "Dougal, is that crazy dog with, way out fur?" "Yes, it is." "Oh, we're old friends, buddies." "Then make yourself at home," said Brian. "I'm sure he won't mind." So Dylan made himself at home. He grunted, sighed, and fell asleep, snoring. And Brian, sniggering, just thought he would go and find Dougal. Meanwhile, "Enjoying your walk?" asked Florence happily. "Lovely," said Dougal heavily. "Hello, mollusk." "Hello, hello, hello. Where are you going?" "We're going to my place." "Want to come?" said Florence. I've just been, there's a friend of yours there." "A friend of mine?" "Yes, in your bed." "In my bed?" "In your bed." "I can't recall inviting anyone." "Come, Florence." And they went. "What fun," said Brian, giggling. "I wonder who it is," said Florence. "I wonder," said Dougal grimly. And then they found out. "It's that rabbit," said Dougal. "Yes, it is," said Florence. "I knew we'd have trouble with this one." "Shh, you'll wake him." "That's the idea," said Dougal, and he prepared to shout very loud. "I don't think you should wake him. Think of his inspiration." "I'll inspire him." And Dougal played an inspired discord in Dylan's guitar. "Do I hear music?" said Dylan, yawning. "Yes, you do. You play by nose, man." "You keep my nose out of this, sir." "Gladly, man, gladly. You are in my bed, sir, and very comfortable. Please get out." "Why should I, man?" Florence saw trouble ahead. "It's not your bed, Dylan. It's Dougal's. People have been put in pies for less." And Florence thought they were both behaving badly, and told them so. And Dylan told him he was sorry, and could he have his guitar back. "Not till you get off my bed." "I think you're both being very difficult," said Florence. But she gave Dylan his guitar back, and Dougal got his bed back. "Now, be friends. I know it's difficult, but try." "Rabbits and dogs never could get on," said Zebedee. "Time for bed." Cutting the grass. Dylan was playing his guitar quietly to himself, but he found that when playing his guitar close to the ground, the grass tended to get caught in the strings. It was against Dylan's nature to stand up to play, so he thought of another solution. He would cut the grass. So he started up a lawnmower, which, as lawnmowers tend to be, was rather noisy and clackety, like a lawnmower crazy. What, am I being attacked? The natives are rising. What? Dougal got a little confused, and he thought it must be an aeroplane about to crash. Don't crash on me! And he told Zebedee to take cover. There's an aeroplane about to crash. Really? Don't just stand there. But Zebedee told him it was just the sound of a lawnmower. A lawnmower? Dylan's cutting the grass, I think. What, the rabbit's working? You must be dotty. He's never done a day's work in his life. It's an aeroplane. Oh, dear, oh, dear. Zebedee tried to calm Dougal down. It's a lawnmower. There's no need to shout. Sorry. It's an aeroplane, said Dougal quietly. So Zebedee went to see Florence to see if she could persuade Dougal that aeroplanes weren't crashing all around him. He's got a bee in his bonnet. He usually has, said Florence. So she went to the garden to see what she could do, and asked Dougal of what was going on. You may well ask with planes crashing all around and the garden in flames and chaos. I don't see any chaos or flames. It's only a matter of time. Can you hear it? It'll crash any moment. Sounds like a lawnmower to me, said Florence. Meanwhile, Dylan mowed on, and Dougal still believed it was an aeroplane crashing. There you are, a lawnmower, said Florence. I'm not convinced. It has all the characteristics of a light aircraft. This is a lawn, man, not an airstrip, yawned Dylan. Have a good sleep, said Florence. Thank you, man, yes, said Dylan with a yawn. I feel wide awake. Just then Brian came along and wanted to know what everyone was doing. I thought I heard a noise like an aeroplane. It was an aeroplane, said Dougal triumphantly. And here it is. Well, looks like a lawnmower to me. You've got lawnmowers on the brain, all of you, said Dougal. Oh, we are in a mood, aren't we? Said Brian, not too loudly. And Florence tried to think of a way to prove that it was a lawnmower and not a crashed aeroplane. Best of luck, ma'am. And Zebedee, when he heard all about it, said, If it's an aeroplane, where's the pilot? Don't bother me with details, said Dougal. Florence sighed, and Zebedee sighed, because once Dougal got an idea, it was difficult to get him out of it. If it's an aeroplane, where are its wings? Said Brian loudly. Wings? Wings? Oh, wings! Foolish mollusk. Who ever heard of a lawnmower with wings? Ha 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 ha! Time for bed, sighed Zebedee. A certain smell. Dougal was in the garden when he noticed something. What's this? What's this? Scent? Perfume? He asked Zebedee if he noticed anything. No. Not a je ne sais pas, a certain smell in the air? No, I don't. Of course, I realize you lack my delicate dog's sense of smell, but surely you catch a breath of something. No. Nose not working? Never has worked. Really? Said Dougal. Really? Said Zebedee. Well, someone is making scent in the garden. The smell is very strong. I'll ask Florence. Ask her if she prefers English lavender or Scottish heather for perfume, will you? English lavender or Scottish heather, all right, said Zebedee, leaving. English lavender or Scottish heather. I beg your pardon, said Florence. So Zebedee told Florence all about the scent, and Mr. Rusty said he'd noticed a sort of smell about the garden too. Someone must be making perfume, said Zebedee. Who could it be? Said Florence. You'd better go and find out, hadn't you?
Yes, I'd better.
Dougal will help you with his sensitive nose.
And bring me a bottle of lavender water, said Mr. Rusty. It's my favourite.
All right, said Florence, and away she went. Dougal met Dillon. May I ask you a question? Be my guest. Aren't rabbits supposed to be bouncy? I'm starting a new trend. Oh, I see. We're rethinking the image. So Dougal asked Dillon if he smelled anything. Like carrot stew? Not exactly. More like violets and heather. Oh, brother, said Dillon, and went on his way. Florence asked Dougal if he knew where the scent was coming from, and Dougal said he didn't, so they decided to try and find out. They looked and sniffed.
I think we are getting warmer, said Florence.
Well, it's certainly getting smellier, said Dougal.
It's a pity you're not a bloodhound, Dougal.
Ah, great floppy things. He gave another sniff. Ah, I believe we found it.
We might have known,
said Florence. They stopped outside Mr. McHenry's greenhouse. And of course, Florence was right. Who else would make perfume in the garden but Mr. McHenry? Nice smell, Mr. McHenry, they said. Glad you like it.
Is it English lavender? Said Florence.
And Scottish heather both, said Mr. McHenry.
Both? Said Florence.
I'm not sure the clans are going to like this, said Dougal.
It's a lovely scent, said Florence.
That's not what I meant. Haven't you got any essence of sugar?
Oh, Dougal, you,
said Florence. But Mr. McHenry had gone away, and Florence told Zebedee all about it. Did you remember Mr. Rusty's lavender water? Said Zebedee.
No,
said Florence. Perhaps I'll make some essence of sugar tomorrow, mused Dougal. Good night. Party time. Florence had told Dougal to fetch Dillon as they were all going on a trip with Zebedee. But with a rabbit like Dillon, fetching wasn't very easy. Party time, said Dougal. Oh, brother, I shall never understand you. Rabbits are supposed to leap about and do jolly things. Didn't they tell you? Oh, they are. They told me, but I don't dig. And he went to sleep again. Everybody ready? Said Zebedee. Well, I'm ready, said Dougal. I don't guarantee anyone else. But Dillon said that he was quite ready and wanted to come. So Zebedee said he would just get Florence and then they could go.
Are Dougal and Dillon coming? Said Florence.
Eventually, said Zebedee.
Is Dillon awake?
Just about. So they started out to see what they could see. Florence asked Zebedee where they were going.
It's a surprise.
Is it far? Said Dillon.
Tired already, said Dougal.
But Dillon said he'd go on and wait for them.
I'll never understand rabbits. Is it far? Said Florence.
Zebedee said it wasn't, and very soon they arrived at the windmills.
Windmills,
said Florence. Windmills and watermills, said Dougal. Grinding any sugar today? But the watermill said he didn't grind sugar, only corn. Florence was talking to another windmill.
What do you do if the wind doesn't blow?
Go to sleep. I must introduce you to a rabbit I know, said Dougal. Florence thought all the different mills were lovely. Suddenly they heard something.
Achoo! And What was that? Said Florence. Sounds like someone with a cold. Achoo! Achoo! Yes, it does. But then they saw. It was a pepper mill. A pepper mill, said Florence. Got a cold? No, said the pepper mill nasally. It's just that pepper doesn't agree with me. Achoo! Oh, poor thing, said Florence. He'll have to get another job, like sugar grinding. Then they realized that Dylan was nowhere to be seen, so they went to look for him. This is becoming a bit of a joke, said Dougal. Enjoying yourself? Wild man. Do you like the windmills? Said Dougal. What windmills? You really must try and participate more, said Florence. Yes, and join in more too. I protest, said Dylan. Florence thanked Zebedee very much for showing them his mills. I suppose it's time for bed now. I know a certain rabbit who'll be glad to hear it, said Dougal. The Flying Saucer. Mr. McHenry had lost something and was looking for it. Wherever can it be? Florence came along. Hello. You haven't seen it by any chance, have you? Seen what? It's escaped, said Mr. McHenry. It's very worrying. Dougal was looking for something too. Now, where is it? Where's what? Said Florence. What's everyone looking for? I can't find it anywhere, said Brian. No, you couldn't, said Dougal. Typical. Don't be like that. What is it? Said Florence. I don't know, said Brian. I was just told to look for it, and I always do as I'm told because I'm little and lovable and everyone takes advantage of me. Of course I mention no names, but watch where my eyes rest. Can't find it, dear heart, said Ermyntrude. Well, it's big enough, said Dougal. Nevertheless, really, said Dougal. It would help if we knew what we were looking for, said Ermyntrude. Exactly, said Brian. We need information. Can't find it, man, nowhere. I'm not surprised, said Ermyntrude. Suddenly they heard something, and they all looked skywards to try and see where the strange beeping was coming from. That's it, said Dougal. What is? Said Brian. That. Scatter and find it. So they scattered to find it. I scattered the wrong way, said Brian. A strange object appeared. That's it, hissed Dougal. It landed. Moo, said Ermyntrude. Oh, said Brian. The flying saucer, for such it appeared to be, rose and left, beeping. Well, I never, said Ermyntrude. Whatever next? That was it, said Dougal. If I'd known, I'd never have looked. What a fright I got. Was that it? Said Brian. And they said it was. Crazy. I couldn't agree more, said Ermyntrude. Horrible thing. Mr. McHenry came back and told them he still couldn't find it anywhere. They asked him what he was looking for. It's my new flying planting machine. It flies. Does it indeed? Said Dougal. Yes, it does. I call it the flying saucer. That's what I wanted you to find, said Dougal. Well, we found it, dear thing. I don't want to worry anyone, said Dylan. What do you mean? Said Mr. McHenry, worried.
Well, it's that machine of yours. It's like driving me crazy. It keeps planting things, and every time I want a little sleep well, it wakes me up and plants something on me. I get an earful of primrose roots, man. I mean, flower power is one thing, but this is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
"Time for bed, I suppose," said Florence.
"How do you expect me to sleep," said Dougal, "with that thing about?" The lettuce thief. Brian was very agitated, an awesome sight. "You seem a bit agitated," said Dougal. "I'm very agitated." "Tell me why, little creature. I have moments to spare." So Brian told Dougal that he had seen Dillon picking lettuces. "Out of my garden, my best lettuces, my best, grown and nurtured for weeks. It's not right. I call on you, an upright dog, to help the weak, namely me." And he described how he had seen Dillon pick the lettuces. He'd seen him look at them closely. He had seen him put the lettuces in a basket and steal away. "I saw him! I saw him!" "We must be careful not to rush to conclusions. We must go and investigate. Come, Watson." So they went to see, and it seemed that Brian was right. "It seems you were right." "I know I'm right." "Leave this to me," said Dougal. "Gladly, old strong friend." So they went to see Dillon. Greetings, man and man." Said Dougal. "Bite him," said Brian. "Now, own up," said Dougal.
"Own up,"
said Florence. "Don't impede the investigation, please," said Dougal. "What investigation?" said Zebedee, and everyone shouted to speak at once. And as Florence explained, no one seemed to know what was going on except Brian and Dougal. "It's an open and shut case," said Brian. But Dillon explained that he had picked the lettuces to wash them because they looked dirty.
"The lettuces were dirty?" said Florence. "And you wanted to wash them?"
"I abhor a dirty lettuce."
"But were they your lettuces?"
"No, they were mine," said Brian. "And they weren't very dirty, just a bit grubby. I like them a bit grubby."
"Steady, Brian," said Florence soothingly. "He did plant them again."
"Yes, in his own garden." But Zebedee said that everything in the garden belonged to everyone, which was quite right and proper. "Cool. Common property, man. Lettuces belong to the people." "And the people are welcome to them," said Dougal. "Don't go washing any sugar, will you?" "Ah, it's an idea, man," said Dillon. "I'll put my mind to it." And he left. "He can't mean it," said Dougal. "Can he?" A good day's sleep. Dillon asked Mr. McHenry what he was growing, and Mr. McHenry told him it was cotton. "Cotton?" "Cotton." "Crazy. Quite a good crop," said Mr. McHenry. "It looks like very soft." "It is soft." And Dillon, who was always looking for soft things to sleep on, asked Mr. McHenry if he could have some, and Mr. McHenry said he could. So Dillon went to look for something to put the cotton in, and Mr. McHenry went to count his carrots, just in case. And Dillon, who could work quite hard when his comfort was involved, started picking. After working particularly hard, Dillon lay down. Crazy.
"Good morning," said Dougal brightly. "You got something to communicate?" No, just passing the time of day. What's that you're sleeping on?" And Dylan explained it was a cotton mattress. Cotton? Cotton? How very quaint. Never heard of springs? Springs, man. Springs. Interior springs in the, interior. That's what you want. Busy sleeper like you. Sounds like a fun idea. And Dougal said he would get Dylan some springs to try. Have a little sleep while you're waiting. So Dougal went to Zebedee's house and took his springs. Then Dylan tried Dougal's spring mattress and found it even better than cotton. "Funny thing," said Zebedee, "I've lost all my springs. Haven't seen them by any chance, have you?" Yes, I did see them somewhere," said Dougal. Let me think. Think hard. Springs, curly things that go boing. "Spring mattresses are the greatest, yawned Dylan. "Spring mattress," said Zebedee slowly. "Spring mattress." He looked at Dougal. I didn't think you used them." "My stock and trade," said Zebedee. And Dylan decided he would go somewhere a little quieter to sleep, like goodbye. "Seen Florence?" said Dougal. "Florence," said Zebedee. "Oh, too late. I must send her a telegram. She'll be worrying." "Sorry, can't come. No springs. What's the weather like? Love, Zebedee." "What's the weather like?" said Florence. The competition. Florence told Zebedee she was going to see a competition in the garden. "What competition?" said Zebedee. "Between Dougal and Dylan to see who's best." "At sleeping?" "No, long jumping," said Florence. Dougal and Dylan were talking about their long jump competition. "We must have a judge," said Dougal. "Like the Olympic Games." We don't need a judge. I'm sorry, but if a thing's worth doing, it's worth doing properly." Hello, said Brian, and seeing him, Dougal had an idea. "We want you to be judge. Say you're judge." "I'm a judge." "Why?" "Do as you're told," hissed Dougal. And he told Brian that he should measure the length of the jumps, and he showed him how to do it. Dylan looked rather amused and very confident. "Just remember, I'll tell you what to say, all right?" "All right, old thing," said Brian. Dylan said Dougal should jump first, and Dougal said he didn't mind jumping first, so he did. And Brian measured the distance. 2 feet 6 inches. "I'm conserving my strength," said Dougal. You go, Dylan," said Brian. So Dylan had a go. "I think he's in orbit," said Brian. "Listen," said Dougal, as he whispered in Brian's ear. "Yes, all right." "How's that? 30 feet at least," swaggered Dylan. "I make it 50 feet, said Brian. 50, said Dylan. "It can't be." "He's a very good judge," said Dougal. "I'm a very good judge. He never gets things wrong." "I never get things wrong. Have another go," said Brian. So Dylan prepared to have another go. "Watch very carefully." "Oh, we will, they said, giggling. "Ready, steady, go," said Brian. Dylan leapt again. "Measurement, please,"
said Dougal, and Brian measured. 1 foot and a half. Can't be, said Dylan. But Brian was right. I'm never wrong. He's never wrong. And Brian said if you had 2 jumps, only the second counted. It's the rules. It's the rules, said Dougal. And Florence asked if the competition was over and who won. I did, said Dylan. I did, said Dougal. He did, said Brian. And they all started to talk at once, so Florence told them to stop. Don't all talk at once. And Zebedee asked if he could join in the competition, and he did. I win, he said, smiling all round. And Florence said he was very clever and gave him some flowers and a kiss. I think you're a professional, said Dougal. No, I'm not. He's just a good jumper, said Florence. Time for bed, then, said Zebedee. Oh, not yet, said Florence. Well, you don't want to watch the news, do you? Said Zebedee. Postman Dougal. Zebedee told Dougal there was no one to deliver the letters, and he was looking for someone intelligent and reliable to be postman. Someone intelligent and reliable, Someone particularly intelligent and very reliable. Yes, said Zebedee. Do you know of anyone? Well, let me see. It's not easy, but there's me. Of course, said Zebedee. Silly of me. I'll just get the letters. Funny he shouldn't have thought of me, mused Dougal. The obvious choice, I would have thought. Zebedee brought the letters for Dougal to deliver. They'll need sorting out. Good luck. And the intelligent and reliable postman was left alone with the letters. Let me see now. First things first. Anything for me? Florence? No. Mr. Rusty? No. Mr. McHenry? No. Dylan? Didn't know he knew anyone who could write. Typical. Nothing for the poor, overworked, underpaid postman. Typical. Oh, well, through snow, through hail, through rain, here we go. Lucky the sun's shining. Florence told Zebedee she had sent Dougal a parcel by post. I hope he gets it. Oh, dear, said Zebedee. What? So Zebedee told Florence about Dougal being the postman. Oh, dear, said Florence. Do you think he's found his parcel? Do you think he's delivered the letters? Time will tell, said Zebedee, and he said that perhaps Florence should go and see what was happening. So Florence went to see how Dougal was doing as postman. Dougal was exhausted. He had delivered all the letters and parcels. Oh, my poor feet, never again. Oh. Hello, Dougal. Oh, hello. What's the matter? I've had an exhausting day. Being a postman? Yes, but never again. There was nothing for me, of course. But I sent you a parcel, said Florence. Really? There was one addressed to my furry friend England. Could that be it? Yes, that's it. Dougal found the parcel. My furry friend, indeed. Sugar? You shouldn't have. I'm glad it didn't get lost in the post. But Dylan came along and told them that someone had delivered the letters all wrong. Must be a new postman who can't read. Oh, dear, said Florence. Everyone's looking for him. All the letters all wrong. They're very angry. Oh, dear. Well, said Dougal loudly with a nervous laugh, I'd better go. A lot to do, you know. Don't worry, hissed Florence. Zebedee will put it right. They all write so badly, whimpered Dougal, and he left with his sugar. And when Zebedee arrived, Florence told him all about it, and of course he put it all right again, and made sure everyone had their letters.
I'm sure he did his best, said Florence. I'm sure he did, said Zebedee. Time for bed? A sticky problem. Florence was in the garden waiting for Zebedee, and when he arrived she got a bit of a shock. Your moustache is coming off. I know, isn't it awful? But as luck would have it, Mr. Rusty arrived with a pot of glue. Isn't that lucky? Said Florence. Now we can stick your moustache on properly. I'm very grateful, said Zebedee. It's nothing, said Florence. But someone else wasn't being quite so lucky. Dylan's guitar had come apart in his hands. Like a calamity, a calamity. Florence asked what was the matter, and Dylan told her about the guitar. Well, isn't that lucky? Said Florence. Lucky? It's a disaster for music. But Florence mended the guitar and explained that it was lucky she happened to have some glue with her. Incredible, said Dylan, and he played Florence a grateful tune. The music woke Dougal up. It's obvious that someone didn't know I was asleep. Silence! The guitar music stopped abruptly. Thank you. The guitar restarted again. Perhaps they didn't hear me. I'll be charitable and calm. I must keep calm. I can't stand it. It's more than flesh and dog can bear. I'll put you in a pie. But the music didn't stop, so Dougal decided he'd have to go and do something about it. I wonder if I could trouble you to make a little less noise. Don't like music? Said Dylan. On the contrary, I love music. So, why the, agitation, friend? It stops people sleeping. But he was wrong. Florence was fast asleep. So Dougal decided it was time for sterner measures, since reason seemed to have failed. He glued the back of the guitar. We'd better go, he whispered. Yes, whispered Dylan. Carry the guitar, please. He put the guitar on Dougal's back. Take it off, take it off, take it off, take it. I only play the flute. It seems to be stuck. I can't go around like this. People will talk. Where am I? Said Florence, waking. Oh, you may well ask, said Dougal. And Dylan told Florence about the guitar being stuck for some reason. I wonder why, mused Florence. Don't stand there musing. Do something, please. I have a solution, said Dylan, and he proposed cutting the guitar off with scissors. Over my dead body, cut my crowning glory, never. And he was off. The rabbit's gone dirty. I'd look like a poodle, a French poodle. What would people say? Florence and Dylan were wondering how the guitar came to be stuck on Dougal. Did you play a joke on him? Madam, I am an innocent rabbit. So Florence decided she would ask Zebedee to explain the mystery. No mystery, said Zebedee. He who plays with glue gets stuck. Good night. Dylan's belt. Dylan was sorting a few things out, but as usual the effort made him feel very tired. So he went to sleep. Been hard at it then, said Dougal. I wonder what's in that box. No, I mustn't look. No. Dougal hummed to himself. I wonder what he'd do if I banged a drum. Brian was looking for Dougal, who had promised him a game of bowls. Where have you been, Lightning?
said Dougal. "Come on, stir yourself. We're playing a game, remember?" "I've been looking for you, old chum." "Excuses, excuses. Come on, run." "I'm a snail, remember, great hairy thing." Come along, come along. Less of this heavy snail acting, please." "I don't think I'm very good at this game," said Brian. "Football is more my line." "Football? Football? Snails can't play football, can they? Snails are underestimated. Snails should be under something." Meanwhile, Zebedee had decided that Dylan was sleeping too much, so he woke him. "Did you hear that Dougal and Brian were playing bowls?" No, I didn't hear that," said Dylan. "That's very interesting. And the children are coming to the garden." "Crazy. And they all expect to see you up and about and doing things and running around and behaving like a rabbit." "But I'm a rabbit who sleeps. I'm not the hopping kind." But Zebedee was gone. Suddenly there was a sound of snake-charming music as a belt came out of Dylan's box. Zebedee told the children that the garden needed a little stirring up. Dylan was always asleep and Dougal and Brian were always arguing. "Leave it to us," they said. "We'll stir them up." But Mr. Rusty said his stirring-up days were over and he wouldn't come, thank you. So the children went to do a little stirring-up by themselves. The belt, meanwhile, came across the bowls players. "Dougal, old friend, we appear to have company. We have been joined by a moving belt." I believe you are right for once, small mollusk. I wonder where it came from." "Ask it." Belts aren't able to talk, are they? But before they could find out, the children arrived to stir things up, and they wanted to know what was going on. "I'd get out if I were you," said Dougal to the belt. "Thank you," said the belt, leaving. "You're welcome." Dylan came in and asked if anyone had seen a belt. "I need it for my trousers." "I'm fed up with holding up your trousers," said the belt. "I never have any fun. You're always asleep. I never get out." "Oh, come back and I'll take you for a long walk. I need you, man." "Well, if you promise not to sleep so much, I'll come back." And Dylan said he would try. "I'll give you one more chance," said the belt, and they left together. "Things seem to be stirring up already," said the children. "Swinging," said Brian. "Time for bed," said Zebedee. Soapsuds Custard. Dougal had asked Dylan to fetch him some sugar, as he wanted to make a cake for Florence. Dylan finally found something sugar-like and set off, spilling it as he went. Dougal was waiting patiently. "Where is he? This is the last time I send that rabbit for anything." And Zebedee asked what the matter was. "I sent that rabbit for some sugar, and he's been gone for days. I was thinking of having a little party with cakes. I have a recipe for sugar cake, the taste of which drives people wild. But I need sugar. Steady, Dougal. I just wish that if people say they'll do something, they'll do it. That's all. Very reasonable." Dougal started to move the furniture around. "There's always so much to do, you see. Can I help?" "No, thank you." So Zebedee went to tell Florence what was going on. "It's strange," said Florence, "but when Dougal gives a party, it always seems to mean a lot of work for other people. But it's very good of him all the same." Perhaps you'd better see what you can do," said Zebedee. And Florence said she would. Meanwhile, Dylan came back with the sugar, or what he thought was sugar. "My, you have been quick. Where was it? In the West Indies? I did my best, man. Well, where is it? He noticed the long trail of sugar behind Dillon. Sorry. Dougal looked closely at the trail of sugar. Funny, that looks like soap powder. And just at that moment, Mr. McHenry decided to do some watering. This will be very funny, sniggered Dougal. And Mr. McHenry got on with watering. Everything's very, very dry, very dry. Yes, everything's very dry, said Dougal. Dry, said Dillon. The trail of soap powder, for soap powder it was, slowly turned to soap suds, and first Dillon, then Dougal became completely immersed in the suds. Very dry, everything, said Mr. McHenry. Florence and Zebedee decided to investigate, but soon became completely covered by soap suds as well. Must be washing day, thought Florence. But where is everybody? And Zebedee decided it was time to see what was going on, and with a bit of magic the soap suds disappeared. I was beginning to think that we'd never get out of that, said Dougal. Did the garden good, I expect, said Mr. McHenry. I never did make my cakes, said Dougal. But Zebedee had. Just time for some soap suds custard before bed, said Florence.